Yo, what is going on, guys? Pothead here, coming in with the wilderness episode of the Rehab series. Before we get started, please follow my Instagram. Link is in the description. And if you are subscribed to the channel, or if you get notifications or anything, you would see that I posted on the community tab that I had a story about the time that I overdosed. I still have that, still sitting on it. Don't really know if I want to drop it or not. Leave some feedback if you guys would like to see that on this video, just because it's a bit more personal, private, sad, and I just don't know whether it fits the motif of this channel. But let me know what you want to see, and yeah, let's get right into it. So at the end of the last episode, I had been told I was going to wilderness. And honestly, I didn't have any experience with what wilderness program was. I had really no idea what I was getting into, but I kind of like the other option was going to jail, it seemed at that point. So I took wilderness and I was like, fuck it. So they had me going to that bitch that same day. I went, packed up my shit. They took me up to, it was in Utah. It's called Legacy. So I packed up. I got in this car. Jaywalker was driving me halfway there. And the wilderness program was picking me up halfway. So it was a 3-hour drive that I was with this guy from the Jaywalker. And honestly, it was cool. He let me play music. I got my burner phone that I had confiscated previously because I didn't have an actual phone at that point. I was bumming Spotify off this kid that also had a burner phone, and I made a playlist, so I was just playing that playlist, and yeah, I was going up. Honestly, not very eventful drive. We just talked, and I was kind of just like trying to figure out like what I was getting into. He's like, yeah, like, you know, you're outside most of the day, but you get to, you go mountain biking, you do like cliff rappelling and backpacking, like it's cool. And I've lived in areas that are like pretty close to the outdoors as you can get all my life, so I wasn't too worried about it, but I also just wasn't too hyped on it either. I mean, I liked having a bed. I liked doing all this shit, so it is what it is, though. Eventually, we get to like the halfway point in between Colorado and Utah. We stop at Chick-fil-A, and let me fucking tell you, this Chick-fil-A was the best Chick-fil-A I've ever fucking had. I don't know what they did to this Chick-fil-A. I don't know how it was this fucking good, but god damn, it was so good. The spicy chicken deluxe, fucking strawberry milkshake, that bitch was going crazy. I don't know if it wasn't because I hadn't had Chick-fil-A for like months, but like usually Chick-fil-A, that doesn't suck. It's definitely one of the better fast food places, but this one was like, god damn, hit every single box on the checklist. We finish up this Chick-fil-A. We get back in the car. We're probably like an hour away from the meetup point, and I was coming from Jaywalker, which was a really nice rehab, so we were in this like, essentially brand new like suburban. It was nice. It was chilling. When I knew things were about to get a little more, let's say, cheap, not cheap, but just like it was a different level of living, is when I got picked up, and it was just like a far more used car. And like at that point, I was like, oh damn, like this program doesn't have like as much money or something, or what's going on? It actually was because it was in the middle of fucking nowhere, and they needed older cars to be able to repair them all the time because it was just on dirt roads, literally driving through the goddamn Amazon rainforest. Shit was crazy. I mean, they should have had just like 4x4s, ATVs and shit. It didn't make any sense. So yeah, again, this whip, the guy who was driving me was like the maintenance worker of this program, and he was cool. We didn't really get to listen to music. There was no Wi-Fi connection. Really wasn't any Bluetooth, so it was a slog for sure. It was whatever. I was hitting my vape, and he's like, "Yo, you gotta finish that before you get there." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, you can't smoke, you can't drink coffee, you can't do none of that shit." This was the first I was hearing of that. I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about? That's absurd." But so I smoked the shit out of this vape. I was not hyped for that, hearing that. So I get to this wilderness program. We probably drive like an hour and a half into like the middle of fucking nowhere through, all the twists and turns and dirt roads and everything. And, we come to this, like, I would say it almost looked like a school. There was like the dorms area, and then there was like the main building where like your therapist and shit would be, in the cafeteria and stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. So this is where we stay or whatever. He's like, yeah, you stay here 2 days out of the week. I'm like, where do we stay for the rest of the time? He's like, oh, in the wilderness. I'm like, okay, we got like tents or something. He's like, no, you'll find out. Like, don't worry about it. I was like, okay, so this is not shaping up to be too cool. I go in, I'm wearing like some like leather Rick Owens pants, fucking Rick Doc Martens, some like, Sex Pistols vintage shirt. Everyone else is wearing these like outdoor clothes and stuff. I'm like, huh, I might have come drastically unprepared for this. So they greet me at the door. I'm like, yo, what's up? The guy who met me his name was Kenny, and he was like the program field director or something like that. They kept saying like in the field, oh, you're going to be in the field. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And so they take you down to the gear room. And at this point, I'm so fucking lost. Like the building with like the cafeteria and like all the offices and shit, the basement, there was like some workout stuff and like half-ass little climbing wall and like 2 locked doors. And one of them was the gear room. And so we go into the gear room, and I brought all my shit from Jaywalker at this point. So I have so many clothes, like books, all this shit. And they're like, this is probably the most stuff anyone's ever come to this program with. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, do people not come here from like rehabs? Like, yeah, but they usually just get their stuff sent back home. I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, what stuff would I, like, I'm not supposed to have anything here? Like, what's going on? He's like, no, like, you don't keep any of your clothes. Like, all that stuff goes into storage until you're done. I'm like, I don't keep my clothes, bro? What are you talking about right now? And he's like, yeah, follow me. So we go into the gear room. It makes me strip down naked, like do a strip search. Like I just came from a rehab. I'm going to have drugs all on me or something. Like it's so wild. I get all my gear, this weak ass wilderness shit. In hindsight, I'm very glad they didn't let me wear any of my clothes because they would have gotten absolutely decimated through this shit. And so I get my clothes and stuff. They send all my shit back to storage. And he's like, yeah, you're going to go meet with your therapist. And then, tonight's movie night and it's pretty chill. I was like, okay, movie night, like, that's tight. So I met with my therapist. The therapist is actually cool as fuck here. Unlike the one I had at Jaywalker, he was actually really good. And, it was very, very beneficial part of the program for me. And so I meet with him, and then, I go to movie night. And movie night was on a entirely different scale than I was expecting. We were in this, like, crowded room, sitting in these, like, metal chairs, watching this, like, 32-inch TV. I'm, like, 100 feet away from it. I'm like, we don't have Netflix. I hadn't seen a DVD in 10 plus years. It was an odd change of pace for sure. And the next day, we finished the movie. It was this movie called Red with Bruce Willis, and I don't know, it sucked. Anyways, I finished that and I go to sleep on it. I get to the dorms, which is the building like maybe a 5-minute walk away from this building, and they give you a bunk bed, and you kind of every night you do this thing called like 10th step. And so I was like introduced to the people in my group. There was 3 teams at this point, each with like 6 people in the team. I was on team 3. And the people in my team there was this like 18-year-old kid who had just been there. He was there for like court stuff. There was this other kid who was there for like alcohol. And then there's this like Russian orphan who was there for anger problems. And let me tell you, this fool was angry as fuck. I mean, anything you said, like even slightly wrong, he's like, what the fuck you say to me, you little bitch? In Russia, we would have killed you for that. Like, I remember, oh my God. So there was this time, like 3/4 of the way, halfway through this program, where one of the guides that we had, there was these people called guides who would take you on the wilderness adventures, right? And, sometimes you'd have female guides. And it was cool. And I remember the female guides one time brought like a bunch of like, it was a rarity to be able to do like self-care stuff. So they brought us like face masks and like nail polish and shit, because like I guess a few of the people had expressed the wanting to paint their nails and stuff. And I don't give a fuck, like I'll paint my nails black, I don't really care. So I did that, and the Russian kid saw that and he was like, in Russia we would have tied you between 2 cars and pulled you apart for that. I'm like, okay, like chill, bro, I do not think it is that serious, my guy. But anyways, so we sit down. And we're at the top floor of this, like, I wouldn't really know how to, it's like a big wooden cabin, like a 3-story wooden cabin is what the dorms were. They were built in the 1980s. They were musty as shit. Fucking sucked. So anyways, we sit down for this thing called 10th step, where you go around and everyone says like a resentment for the day, an acknowledgement for the day, a fear, a self-praising thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is fucking so crazy. And the thing I gauged very quickly about the people who had chosen their employment status to be a guide was that they were very like earthy, granola, organic people. And they're like, I want to acknowledge the earth for giving me all this bountiful nature, and the trees for creating the air that way. I'm like, bro, shut up. Like, who the fuck? Get some bitches, bro. Like, no. It's cool. I fuck with the earth, like the earth's tight. Like I fuck with it, but like, get some hoes, get something, do something. Yeah, so we do that, go to bed, and we wake up, and the next morning, we're getting prepared to go on this fucking, they called them adventures. It was really like death slogs through the wilderness, but yeah, so we're packing our pack. Luckily, and so you packed your pack for 5 days. You got a food bag, you had a sleeping bag, a tarp, and a fucking like foam pad. And then everything else, you know, your clothes and stuff. And so mine was already packed for me. Luckily, they do that for you like your first week. But everyone else was like complaining about it and shit. And like, I very quickly realized, so like the food, you would go to the cafeteria. There was this guy named Nate, and he'd fill up 2 giant bins of food for you. And everyone would get the same amount of stuff. But then some people liked certain things more than other people. So for instance, I was a huge fan of the green tea because it was the only thing that had caffeine in it, and also the hot cocoa. There was these bags full of 2 green teas and 2 hot cocoa packets. So I would be bartering around, like convincing people they didn't want their green tea or they didn't want their hot cocoa, or they'd rather have my tuna packet instead of their hot cocoa package. So I became king of hot chocolate in this fucking place. Like I'm telling you, I had like 20 bags of hot chocolate every single day. I didn't even know what the fuck to do with them. I just knew like it was sweet. You could pour a little water in that bag, make some like homemade fudge, like put on a tortilla. Shit was crazy. Anyways, so there was, you know, it was almost like, it was like jail and like wilderness almost. I don't even know. It was like trading commissary almost. So we got all packed, you know, we filled these water. You also had, oh my God, I forgot about this. You had to fill up these water, they called them blues. They're like 5-gallon things of water. You'd fill them up. You'd bring like 20 on each trip. And everyone had like designated jobs for like getting out of this place and getting into the field. And so my job this week was to fill the water. I was like, okay, easy enough. So I'm filling these buckets up, and I fill it up to the top, and I pick it up. I'm like, this shit's heavy as fuck. We're just be carrying this shit around. We got 20 of these hoes. Like, what the fuck are we finna do with these? You know, you picking it up, like 5 gallons of water is heavy, bro. I was like, whoa. I put them in the back of the truck, and like soon enough, we were off. And I'm kind of getting the lowdown of like what's going on. And usually, I figured out that like usually the day before you leave, you get like an adventure prep, like they tell you what you're gonna do. And they were like, this time they're like, no, we're just gonna like, we had this super like earthy fucking granola guide. His name was Mason. Cool guy, but he was so fucking annoying with how like we are just gonna be like in tune with the earth and it's gonna guide us and we're gonna see. Later on I found out it was all a bunch of bullshit. They had planned something. They just wanted to see like how we would react if we didn't know what we were doing. So yeah, we get out to the fucking wilderness, bro. And the first night is chill because we got out by like 5 p.m. So by the time we get to camp, it was like a 10-minute walk away from where we got dropped off. You know, we make a fire and shit. We start cooking dinner. The dinner was fucking, I mean, I would rather eat anything than the dinners that they prepared for us here. Every night, it was the same shit every single week. One night of fucking quinoa and beans. One night of spaghetti. One night of fucking veggies. It was fucking brutal, man. And every fucking time you'd have to eat it out of this like cup. And I thought of the most like 5-head strat though. I would just eat everything in a fucking tortilla, so I never had to clean shit. Everyone would be like, oh, you gotta clean the fucking pots and pans, and you know, you spilled sauce over this, you gotta clean your cup. I'm like, bitch, I ate a fucking tortilla. Fuck are you talking about? I was eating fucking spaghetti torts, bro. I mean, I don't give a fuck. I was in the wilderness. There was nothing to impress anybody here. I was fucking, man, this is a weird time in my life. Like, I don't really think about this shit that often, mostly because I didn't really enjoy it, but like retelling the story for you guys, like this is fucking weird, man. The next day we wake up, we pack up camp. They're like, okay, time to go. I'm like, where are we going? Like, pointed like that way. Also, I forgot to tell you, you shit in a hole and then you have to pick up your dirty toilet paper afterwards because it's environmentally conscious. So you're walking around with a Ziploc baggie full of dirty toilet paper, which is just fucking insane. You know, we as humans have evolved not to have to do this shit. Also, you had to fucking start a fire with a fucking stick and some paracord, bro. You're like spinning this like spindle around on top of this wooden board trying to make a coal. I mean, bro, we as humans have evolved. You know, we've made hotels, we've made lighters for a fucking reason that we don't have to do this shit. But I guess, like, you know, you throw me in the wilderness by myself, I'm coming out that bitch minked up. You know, like, I'm surviving now, which is like cool to think about, but also like, when is that really gonna happen? You know, like, in reality, is that ever gonna happen to me? And so we start fucking walking. I got this 45-pound bag on my back. We're fucking backpacking down this like ATV track for 8 fucking miles in the goddamn desert sun. I mean, fucking kill me now. This shit was abysmal, bro. I'm telling you. And honestly, like, I'm chilling. Like, I'm good at backpacking. I'm a strong hiker. Like, I got strong ass legs. I've been skiing, skateboarding, all that shit my whole life. Like, it was nothing. But it was also like, by the time you hit like, and the water is limited, bro. We weren't carrying around the blues. Like, they were dropping them off for us sporadically at camp. So you had to fill up 2 Nalgene's, 2 water bottles, and that's all you had. I was fucking thirsty as shit, bro. We're walking around the sand, the desert. I drink my water fast as shit. So by the end of this trek, I'm fucking sitting there. I'm like, I'm about to die, bro. Like, help me, please. They didn't give a fuck. You know, by the time we get to lunchtime, you know, we sit down for some lunch. All of us in the group are like, so what the fuck are we doing? And the two guides are like, well, give us a second. We're going to confer. And he's like, we're going to show you, like, where we are on the map and, like, where we're going to for today. And we're going to see if that helps you guys, like, have a better mindset. Because no one was having this shit. Everyone wanted to know what we were doing. We want to know what the fuck was going on. And I haven't even gotten into the dynamics of the fucking people in this group yet. Because mostly this was my first, like, week there. I was just kind of watching everything, seeing, you know, how people were really playing out and shit. And so we get to the first campsite. It was 8 miles of fucking backpacking that day. The next day was fucking another 8. You know, it was like, fuck this shit, man. I'm telling you, like, fuck this shit. So brutal. And the second day, the campsite we got to, it was fucking snowing. Like, what the fuck? We hiked up a goddamn mountain. Shit is absurd. And then by the time we got to the second campsite, we just had, like, 2 personal days, which was nice. There wasn't that much hiking involved after that, but it was a hard first adventure. I'm going to have to do 2 parts of this wilderness shit. I'm sorry, guys. I just wanted to, like, you know, give you a little taste of what this is. I'll get into the actual, like, juicy shit of, like, what happens in the next one. But I just want you guys to know, like, kind of what wilderness is like if you haven't been or haven't heard anything about it. But thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. I love you guys. Peace.